Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, which means may peace be upon you. I always found it beautiful how Muslims greet one another, not just with a hello, but with a prayer of peace. Imagine if we all greeted each other that way. Peace would be with every conversation. Today, I invite you to approach this presentation with an open heart, an open mind, and to set aside stereotypes and come together simply to learn, understand, and collaborate. I'll be sharing a brief reflection on 1001 Inventions, an enduring legacy of Muslim civilization, a story that celebrates how faith, curiosity helped shape one of the greatest intellectual and scientific eras in history. This quote from Prince Charles at Oxford University in 1993 beautifully captures the message we often forget. He said, if we are to foster a true dialogue of civilization, we must acknowledge that the Renaissance was built on the shoulder of Muslim scholars. And that's exactly what the golden age of Islam represents, a time when Muslims, Jews, Christians worked together, shared knowledge, and built the foundation of the modern world. The Renaissance didn't appear out of nowhere. It was inspired by centuries and centuries of learning, innovation, preserved and advanced by Muslim civilization. Okay, before I go further, I'd like to share a few things. I'm not an expert or a scholar. I'm simply one of over 2 billion Muslims in the world, which means one of every four people in the world is a Muslim. I'm just your average Muslim sharing what I learned through history, faith, curiosity, and the book that I read. And in in my presentation, the Arabic word Allah means the God. My goal today is to simply inform, inspire, and build understanding among all of us.
Knowledge that we gather on the traditional territory of many nations, Mississaugas of the Credit, Anishinaabeg, Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. As we honor these caretakers of the land, we remember that the love of homeland, freedom, and dignity is shared by peoples everywhere. Let us not be silent when women, children, elderly, nature, and places of worship of any faith or community suffer from injustice. Thank you, Amir.
Okay. Although I'm not of African descent, I want to take a moment to honor the people of African origin and descent whose strength, spirit, and resilience continue to shape Toronto and Canada. The City of Toronto acknowledges those who came here as settlers, as migrants, and those who were brought here involuntarily through the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We also remember that Africa's story did not begin with slavery, it began with kingdoms of knowledge, faith, and dignity. Leaders like Mansa Musa of Mali, once the richest man in history, remind us of Africa's legacy of education, generosity, and wisdom. During his pilgrimage to Mecca, Mansa Musa shared wealth, supported scholars, and helped make Timbuktu a global center of learning. As we gather here in Toronto, a city enriched by African indigenous and immigrant communities, may we honor that heritage by seeking knowledge, justice, and unity through learning. I want to dedicate this slide to my African brothers sisters as well, that produce some of the greatest scholars in world history, shaping science, philosophy, and education. For example, Ibn Khaldun from Tunisia, often called the father of sociology, economics, and history. Next is Ibn Rushd. He is from Morocco, known in the West as Averroes. He is a philosopher, jurist, physician who bridged faith and reason. Ibn Rushd taught that religion and science are not in contradict, that truth, wherever found, is part of Allah's creation. And that's But here's the interesting contrast. In the modern Western world, science and religion are often seen as opposite, as if faith blocks reason. Yet for Muslims, it was the opposite. Their faith fueled their curiosity. They studied the stars to understand time for prayer, medicine to heal Allah's creation, and mathematics to appreciate divine order. Then we have Ibn Battuta from Morocco, the world's greatest traveler. He journeyed over 120,000 kilometers, visiting more than 40 modern countries from West Africa to China. And if you don't remember anything from this slide, remember this name, Fatima al Fahri, a pious Muslim woman of vision. She founded the world's first degree granting university, established more than 200 years before Oxford University. Her university stood as a beacon of faith, knowledge, teaching Quran, law, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and philosophy. And it still stands today in Fez, Morocco, if you want to go see it. So, the very heart of higher education, the idea of a university itself, was founded by a Muslim woman long before the woman's right to learn or lead was recognized in much of the non Muslim world. This is a quote from our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. When he sent his soldiers, he instructed them, do not kill any child, woman, or elderly or sick person. Do not cut down trees or destroy inhabited areas. Do not harm monks in their monasteries, and do not destroy places of worship. These were the Prophet's words during the time of war, a time when others showed no mercy. So imagine what he would have commanded during the time of peace. Before we move forward, just take a look at these inventions and discoveries. Think about them. Hospitals, algebra, scientific methods, flight experiments, streetlights, urban planning. There's so much more. Who do you think created all these? In what era? You can put your answers in the chat. Don't worry about the exact dates. Just give me which civilization, as I'm already talking about that civilization. Type your answer in the chat, and I'll give you a few seconds. So the correct answer is the Muslim Golden Age, from around 632 to 1796, about 1,000 years of innovation, when Muslim faith inspired science, art, medicine, astronomy, and many, many, many fields that we know today. During this time, knowledge was seen as a form of worship. Seeking truth was part of serving Allah. From Spain to China, this was one of the greatest ages of learning in human history, when faith and science worked hand in hand to lift civilization. Here are the exact answers. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see from 7th to 15th century, Muslims' golden age, this is where it all happened, from Spain to China.
In Cairo, a muezzin calls faithful Muslims to prayer. It's the same call that sounds 5 times a day, every day, in cities across the world. Nearly a quarter of the people on earth respond to it, bound together by the enduring spirit of Islam. God is most great, the muezzin calls. I testify there is no other God but God. I testify Muhammad is the messenger of God. Come and pray. Come and flourish. God is most great. There is no God but God. In the unfolding of history, Islamic civilization has been one of humanity's grandest achievements. A worldwide power founded simply on faith. A spiritual revolution that would shape the nations of 3 continents and launch an empire. For the West, much of the history of Islam has been obscured behind a veil of fear and misunderstanding. Yet Islam's hidden history is deeply and surprisingly interwoven with Western civilization. It was Muslim scholars who reclaimed the ancient wisdom of the Greeks, while Europe languished in the Dark Ages. It was they who sowed the seeds of the Renaissance, 600 years before the birth of Leonardo da Vinci. From the way we heal the sick, to the numerals we use for counting, cultures across the globe have been shaped by Islamic civilization. But all this began with the life of a single ordinary man, and the profound message he proclaimed would change the world forever. His name was Muhammad.
Okay, so it all began after the most beloved man in history, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, brought a message that transformed the world forever. I say this because there has never come a single person in history that produced such a profound and positive change in society for centuries and centuries and centuries after coming of a single person, which was Prophet Muhammad. His message was simple but powerful, that there is no God except one God, and that Muhammad is his final messenger and prophet to humanity. If Allah chose to end the line of prophethood, it means that he gave Prophet Muhammad something complete, a message that would not be corrupted by man and would remain for all time. That message is the Quran, the final revelation, a book that provides spiritual, social, and ethical guidance for building a just and balanced society. Alongside it, we have the Sunnah, the Prophet's teaching, action, and example, showing how he lived, treated others, and practiced the message of the Quran in everyday life. So Allah tells us in the Quran, I'll play the audio.
إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون.
Indeed, it is we who sent down the reminder, the Quran, and indeed we will preserve it. This is a divine promise that the message of the Quran would be protected from corruption or change over time. And history has proven this. The oldest written manufacture of the Quran, dating back to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, is identical to the text of the Quran we read on a daily basis today. While earlier revelations such as the Torah, Bible, and others were changed or lost over time, the Quran remains fully preserved in its language, in memory, and in writing, just as it was revealed. During the Prophet Muhammad's time, Muslims carefully observed him, began memorizing and recording everything he said and did. This was remarkable because the Arabs had a strong oral tradition. They could memorize hundreds or even thousands of lines of poetry across generations with ease. They wrote on parchment paper, they wrote on parchment, palm leaves, leather, and even bones, anything they could find to preserve what the Prophet said, known as hadith, did through his actions and habits, and how he engaged on a day-to-day basis with different people. We know much of his life through his wives, we know much of his personal life through his wives, especially Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, one of the greatest scholars in Islamic history. She narrated over 2,000 hadiths or the sayings of the Prophet and became a teacher for later generations. Years later, when Muslims discovered paper, they traveled great distances to ensure that the Sunnah they knew was correct. They compared sources, verified chains of narration, and only recorded what met the highest standard of truth. Unlike today's world, where many people believe whatever they see online, on social media, on movies, in TV or news, or they hear something from a stranger without verifying it. Muslim scholars created a science of authentication. The expansion of Islam. After the Prophet, Islam spread rapidly. Within just 20 years, Muslims united all of Arabia and expanded into Persia and large parts of Byzantine Roman Empire, including Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. To put that into perspective, imagine the Inuits of northern Canada defeating both the United States and China within 20 years. Muslims didn't have the advanced technology or military experience of the Romans or Persian, but they had unshakable faith that Allah was helping them. Islamic civilization stretched from Spain in the west to the Indus River in India and Pakistan to today, the fastest expansion in world history. Let's look at why Islam spread so quickly and peacefully. First, trade. Perhaps one of the most peaceful and powerful ways Islam spread was through merchants. Muslim traders shared not just goods but good character, honesty, farewell, kindness in almost every deal. From West Africa to Indonesia, Islam reached people through trust and trade, not through threat or force. Second, social justice. Islam taught that everyone is equal under one God, black, white, male, female, Arab, no Arab. This message of equality was revolutionary for its time, and it appeared to hearts everywhere. Third, direct worship. People didn't need priests, idols, or anyone in between. Everyone could connect directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a deeply profound message that gave spiritual independence to all. Fourth, protection for people of all faith. Under Muslim rule, Jews, Christians, and others were free to practice their religion safely. Their lives, property, and places of worship were protected by law, something rare in that era. In fact, it is said that during a busy market, when a call of prayer comes and Muslims leave the shop open and go to pray, they would come back and everything would still be intact. So there was no theft at that time. And the fifth is essential services. Muslim governance ensured free access to healthcare, education, and libraries for all, funded through the fair taxes like zakat and jizya, compared to the heavy taxes people paid before Islam. These were light, and every penny went into the public welfare. So Islam spread not by force, but by fairness, compassion, and service to humanity. This quote beautifully captures one of the most remarkable moments in Islamic history, the rule of Khalifa Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. His leadership was so just, so compassionate that poverty nearly disappeared. Historians record that zakat collectors would go back with charity funds but return with them, unable to find anyone in need. Imagine that, a society where justice upholded the poor and humility softened the hearts of the rich. I truly believe that many of the world's major challenges today, inflation, poverty, inequality, environment, environment sustainability, racism, mental, mental well-being, and much, much more, can find inspiration and solutions in the legacy of the Islamic world. This civilization did not exist in a vacuum. It thrived for over 1,000 years, and many of the values and systems we take for granted today trace their roots back to that era. That's the kind of justice and compassion our world still longs for today. And we look at history, we shouldn't look at to point fingers. We should look to learn, to understand, and solve problems that we have today. So before Islam, in all great civilizations like Egypt, Greece, Rome, and others, education was a privilege reserved for the rich, the royal, or prestigious class. The common man were often left in ignorance with little access to learning or literacy. Then came Islam, and the very first word revealed to the Prophet Muhammad was Iqra, which means read. It wasn't a command to a king or a philosopher or a scholar. It was a message to every human being through a prophet. So if you are not a millionaire or super rich or in a royal class and you can read and write, you are living that legacy. This single word, read, opened the doors to knowledge equality, and enlightenment. What made Islamic Golden Age so successful wasn't just the science or discovery, it was responsibility. Responsibility to Allah to live with honesty and gratitude, responsibility to ourselves to care for our body, mind, and soul, responsibility to others to stand for justice and show compassion to everyone, regardless of the faith or background, and responsibility to the planet to protect and preserve what Allah has entrusted to us. Islam teaches that faith isn't just what you believe, it's how you live, how you serve, and how you care for the world around you. During the Abbasid period in the city of Baghdad, known as the City of Peace, Muslim built one of the greatest centers of learning in human history, the House of Wisdom. It wasn't just a library or school, it was a living laboratory of ideas. Scholars from every background, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Persians, Indians, Greeks, came together to study, translate, and debate. But they didn't just copy what came before, they questioned existing knowledge, tested ancient ideas, and examined everything through the lens of Quran, which commanded reflection, logic, and evidence. They studied nature, mathematics, medicine, and the stars to seek the truth, because for them, understanding the creation was part of understanding the Creator. From the House of Wisdom, knowledge spread across the Muslim world from Spain to China, shaping sciences, medicine, philosophy, and art for centuries. Education there was often free or supported by charitable endorsement, meaning ordinary people could learn at a level equal to the best universities of today. So imagine attending IIT in India, Oxford in UK, or MIT, or any other big fancy university, not because you could afford it, but because learning was a human right. It was said that during the time, you couldn't find a Muslim who didn't know how to read or write during the Golden Age. Okay, so now so how did the Europe get hold of this knowledge from the Muslim world? So during the Middle Ages, while much of the Europe was in decline, Muslim Spain became a major center of learning. Cities like Cordoba, Toledo were vibrant hubs where Europe scholars came to learn Arabic, translate thousands of books into Latin. Through trade, travel, even the Crusaders, Europe began to inherit Muslim discoveries in algebra, astronomy, medicine, engineering, and even art, culture, and music. These ideas, once preserved and expanded by Muslim scholars, eventually flowed into Europe, inspiring new curiosities and innovation. This exchange of knowledge sparked the European Renaissance, a rebirth powered by wisdom that first flourished in the Muslim world for centuries. And this is just a map in the book, but you can see this is Baghdad right here. Muslim world expanded from Spain to Africa all the way to Indonesia and India. And the discoveries were happening everywhere. Uh, I'll go to the next slide. Now, before we explore the inventions themselves, let's look at the project that brought all of this forgotten history back to life, the 1001 invention. This global initiative was created and led by Professor Salim Al-Hassani, a professor of mechanical engineer at the University of Manchester. The project began in the late 1990s with a simple question: why are almost 1,000 years of Muslim scientific achievements missing from our history books? Professor Al-Hassani and his team set out to answer that by highlighting the 7th to 17th century when Muslim civilization led the world in science, technology, and culture. 1001 invention grew into books, museum, exhibitions, documentaries, and education programs. As Professor Al-Hassani beautifully says, we are not rewriting history, we are restoring a missing chapter of it. And that's exactly what this presentation is about, discovering the missing chapter and the incredible Muslim minds who shaped our modern world. So the book is divided into 7 main chapters, each one representing a part of daily life. This first chapter, Home, which looks at everyday inventions like soap, perfume, glass, carpets, and lamps, and much more. The next chapter is about schools, showing how Muslims created the world's first universities, libraries, system of education, making learning a sacred duty. Then comes the market, when innovation in commerce, trade, manufacturing connected the East and the West through the silk, glass, and paper industries. The hospitals chapter explores the birth of modern medicine with hospitals, pharmacies, surgeons whose books were used in Europe for, I believe, 600 years. In town, we learn about architecture, urban planning, gardens, and cleanliness, the beauty of Islamic cities. The world chapter highlights explorers, travelers, and map makers who helped people understand the geography of the earth. And finally, universe. This is where scholars explored light, mathematics, and the stars, laying the foundation of modern science. Okay, so this is an interactive session. I will have people who are coordinating this who says the right answer, but I'll try to go through this fairly quickly. Where I ask you a question and you will respond in the chat. I want to see how many people can get these questions right. So the first question is, who's known as the father of mechanical engineering and creator of early robotics? So the answer is Al-Jazari from Turkey, a brilliant inventor, engineer, and polymath, known as the father of mechanical engineering. He designed and documented over 100 mechanical inventions, including the world's first robotic devices, pistol pumps, water-raising machines. One of his aspiring quotes says, "Craftsmanship and innovation are acts of devotion. Every gear moves with purpose." Okay, who is the father of optics and pioneer of the scientific method? Okay, the answer is Ibn al-Haytham. He is a Muslim polymath from Iraq, known as the father of optics. He was first to prove that light enters the eye to create vision, not the other way around, and developed an early form of scientific method through observation and experiments. His studies on light and reflection later inspired scientists like Newton and Kepler. Okay, who measured the Earth's circumference with 99% accuracy over 1,000 years ago? Who proposed that the Earth rotates on its own axis? And who suggested that Earth revolved around the Sun nearly 600 years before European astronomers did? Okay, the answer is Al-Biruni, a brilliant Muslim polymath from Central Asia who measured astronomy, physics, mathematics, and geography. He used trigonometry and geometry, observed the sun's shadows from mountains to measure distances and calculate the Earth's dimensions with remarkable accuracy. He wrote over 150 books, and one of the most aspiring quotes reminds us, "To pursue knowledge is to seek closeness to the truth, and the truth is one." Okay, who was known as the father of early modern medicine and clinical medicine, who introduced systematic diagnosis, quarantine for infectious diseases, and tested new treatments, setting a model of scientific rigor. He also wrote 450 books on medicine, physics, music, logic, and astronomy, and much, much more. I think he's just an amazing person, and I would love to learn about him, showing that knowledge has no boundaries. Who was the first to describe the role of nerves, brain functions, mental health in the human body? The answer is Ibn Sina, a Muslim physician, philosopher, and scientist from Uzbekistan. Without his contribution, modern medicine as we know would not exist. His work laid foundation of medical science and ethics around the world. He wrote over 450 books, but only 250 survive today. Ibn Sina was the first to describe contagious disease and circulatory systems and importance of mental health in healing. His His famous quote reminds us, "A healthy body depends on a sound mind. Both must be cared for together, for one cannot be well without the other suffers, while the other suffers." Okay, who is the father of chemistry and introduced laboratory techniques that we still use in modern sciences today? Without his work, the perfume and fragrance industry as we know them wouldn't exist. So if you wear perfume, you'll be smelly. So thanks to him, he created that for you. Who wrote over 3,000 works on chemistry, medicine, etc., describing acids and chemical reactions centuries before modern chemistry existed? So the answer is Jabir ibn Hayyan, a brilliant Muslim chemist from Iran, known as the father of chemistry. He invented and perfected many chemistry processes. His discoveries improved metal refining, dyes, ink, waterproofing, and his book became Europe's main chemistry textbooks for centuries. Okay, who's the father of chemistry and algorithm? Introduced zero and decimal system to the world using his mathematics, who introduced systematic solutions of linear and quadratic equations. So his name is Al-Khwarizmi, a brilliant Muslim mathematician from Uzbekistan. His book on algebra gave both the word algebra and modern term algorithm, which today powers computers and technology around the world. His mathematics textbooks were studied across Europe for more than 500 years, shaping the foundation of modern math and science. Who's known as the father of flight, he studied mechanics of flight, experimented with birds, designed early parachute-like gliders, and became the first person in history to successfully test a flying machine, inspiring later inventors like Leonardo da Vinci. So the answer is Abbas ibn Farnas, an engineer, inventor, and astronomer from Spain. He was the first person in history to design and successfully test a flying machine centuries before Leonardo da Vinci. He was he also developed clear glasses for reading, early step toward modern optics and inventions like the telescope. A quote inspired by him says, "Man will not be restrained from reaching for the sky if he has the wings of knowledge and courage." Okay, who created over 200 surgical tools that we still use today, known as the father of modern surgery? Who was the first person to teach surgery as a medical science, emphasizing observation, practical experience, and patient care? Okay, the answer is Al-Khwarizm, Al-Zahrawi, a Muslim surgeon from Cordoba, Spain, known as the father of modern surgery. He invented over 200 surgical instruments, many still used in hospitals today. But he didn't just teach surgery, he emphasized ethics, care, and compassion towards patients. One of his famous quotes says, "A good surgeon must have the hand of a lion, the eyes of an eagle, and the heart of a lady." This is just an artistic point of Az-Zahrawi's surgery, but the person I'll show you next is one of the most aspiring, one who inspired all of these scholars, the source of their curiosity, compassion, and pursuit of knowledge. There were hundreds of remarkable Muslim scholars who transformed the world through their discoveries and inventions. I hope today has sparked your interest to learn more about these amazing individuals and the faith and values that inspired them. So who promoted daily cleanliness, brushing teeth with miswak, and washing hands before and after eating, centuries before the modern hygiene standard existed? Who said, "The best among you are those who are best to their wives"? Who was the first person in history to establish a written constitution for a city, ensuring justice, equality, and freedom of religion for Muslims, Jews, and others living together? Who taught that true leadership is not about privilege, but about serving the people, saying, "The leader of a people is their servant"? who stitched his own clothes, helped with household work, never wasted food, and cared for animals with compassion? And the answer is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He built a civilization founded on faith, knowledge, and compassion, one that inspired science, education, and justice for generations. But it's important to remember that all prophets were the best among their people, each of each one chosen by Allah to honor, to guide humanity with truth and mercy. From Prophet Adam, Noah, and Prophet Moses and Jesus, all the way to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all, every prophet carried a message to worship one God, to live with justice, and to serve humanity. If you knew some of the answers from before, that's amazing. It means you have a love for history and a desire to seek the truth. But if you don't, you're not alone. There's a reason why so much of this isn't taught in our schools, and why hate crimes against the Muslims continue to rise, not only in Toronto but across Canada and across the world. The statistics don't tell the full story. They only reveal a fraction as many incidents go unreported. Ignorance leads to fear, fear leads to hate, and hate leads to violence. A truth that Ibn Rushd taught centuries ago. This is why it's our responsibility to seek knowledge, to question what we're told, and to find the truth for ourselves. Muslim scholars don't always receive a credit for over 1,000 years of inventions, yet their discoveries shaped our modern world. During the Golden Age, Muslim, Jews, Christians, and others lived together peacefully, sharing ideas, translating texts, building knowledge for over 6 centuries. Even the Jewish Golden Age flourished under the Muslim rule in Spain between the 10th and 12th century, according to one of the article from Mark Cohen, which I will share after. Hate is often born from ignorance and misinformation, but education is the cure. Let's replace stereotype with curiosity, empathy, and honest conversation. Pick up a book, visit a mosque, talk to a Muslim, explore the true history, not hashtags. Muslims continue to contribute globally in medicine, technology, arts, community service, yet their stories were rarely told. It's time to give a credit where it's due and build bridges through understanding. I cannot imagine anyone hating our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, who taught nothing but goodness, mercy, and justice. So be on the right side of history before it's rewritten or forgotten. And this is really the goal of Islamic Heritage Month, to bring this message home right here to Toronto. Our city is one of the most diverse places on earth, where people of all backgrounds live side by side, just as during the golden age we talked about today. Islamic Heritage Month isn't only about celebrating Muslim achievements, it's about recognizing how much stronger we are when we learn from one another. The same spirit that built Cordoba, Baghdad, Fez, and others, the spirit of curiosity, compassion, and coexistence is alive right here in Toronto. And like just like how the message of the last prophet began with the word Iqra, read, this is the message I want to leave you with today. Read, reflect, and reconnect. Because maybe, just maybe, if we come together with knowledge, empathy, and faith in one another, we can build another balanced society and perhaps even spark another golden age. And as we come to close, uh, I like to end this short and timeless reminder from the Quran.
والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
It begins by the passage of time. Surely humanity is in loss, except those who have faith, do good, and remind one another of truth and patience. This verse reminds us that our time in this world is precious, and what truly matters is what we do with it, doing good, standing for truth, and supporting one another. My prayer today is that we leave here inspired to seek knowledge, to act with kindness, and to build understanding among all. May Allah be pleased. May Allah bless us with His wisdom, patience, and unity. Ameen. I would like to take a moment to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the courage and guidance for the opportunity to share this message with you. And finally, to you for listening, learning, and being part of our journey together towards understanding.